Joining me now are three of the best political analysts in the country: syndicated columnist and CNN contributor Miguel Perez, New York Daily News columnist, WWRL radio morning show host, and CNN contributor Errol Louis, and in Washington, D.C., Stirewalt, political editor for the Washington Examiner. I want to first start with a statement Vice President Dick Cheney, former Vice President Dick Cheney, what he said about the CIA interrogation. So we can put this up on our screen for you. He said, quote, "President Obama's decision serves as a reminder, if any were needed, of why so many Americans have doubts about this administration's ability to be responsible for our nation's security." Errol, I want to start first off with you. Is the president making a mistake here by moving forward with saying they're going to have an investigation?
No, not at all. I think the vice president's statement is an attempt, I guess, to refight the election of last year. It's clear that the people want a different kind of a policy. They voted in a new policy. I would have preferred, frankly, if the Obama administration, instead of trying to sort of split the difference, saying that we want to leave the people at the top alone and we want to leave the people at the bottom alone and we want to sort of talk about these lawyers who got it wrong, I think they kind of muddled the issue. I would have much preferred just an open Truth and Reconciliation Commission, if you want to call it that, led by the Congress, led by the people.
Chris, is this going to be a political problem for President Obama?
Well, on the upside for him politically, this may buy him time with liberal members of Congress who wanted to do something like a Truth and Reconciliation Council. This may let him run the clock down a little bit, and they're certainly distracted by other issues right now. I think you can get a sense of the potential political liability that exists here by the moment at which the administration opted to do this. If you wait until the president and Congress are both out of town and you do it on a day where you have a massive news dump involving Chairman Bernanke, the increased deficit and debt numbers and all this other stuff, this is obviously something that they wanted to sort of drop off in the deep end of the pool. But how they handle it and where it goes from here, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, funny thing how they have all of this coming out when the president is on vacation. And on that note, he announced Ben Bernanke, who he's going to nominate for a second term here. Is this a good idea? I mean, as we're moving forward, or do we need sort of some fresh faces, fresh ideas?
Bernanke is a good idea only because it's stability that we need in our economy right now. And I think that, you know, a new name, a new face would have brought in all kinds of questions, doubts about the future of the economy. This is a guy who's been involved in all the restructuring that's been going on, all the new, you know, the reason why we're in the deficit and the reason he understands it all. So hopefully this is the guy that can provide that kind of stability and calm that the president spoke about when he named him again.
Yeah, here, Errol, I want you to comment on this. The deficit was $455 billion, and that was a record in 2008. Now, $1.6 trillion this year alone.
Well, I think as I am not a deficit hawk. You know, whenever I hear a big scary deficit number or the big national debt number, I think about starting school and, you know, just out of high school and had never really worked other than as a caddy. And I borrowed tens of thousands of dollars to go to school. Why? Because there was a reason. You know, there was a reason that we have a deficit. It's intended to sort of stop a downward spiral that could plunge this country into a very severe, very long-lasting recession. Those who understand that, I think, are okay with the fact that we're doing what Keynesians told us we would have to do. Those who never wanted us to try the stimulus package, I'm sure, are very upset.
But, Chris, there are so many people in this country, and this is reflected at these town hall meetings that we are seeing across the country. So many people are saying this country is getting into way too much debt. And on top of this, President Obama is talking about having a new health care obligation.
Sure, Republicans and Democrats alike, liberals and conservatives, all agree that sometimes deficit spending is necessary. The concern that people are starting to have now, when we start talking about doubling the national debt in 10 years, talking about adding another $9 trillion on top, is that somewhere in 5 to 10 years from now, the debt service, just paying our obligations to our creditors on an annual basis, becomes our largest single component of our federal spending, more than defense, more than Social Security, more than Medicare, more than anything else. So when you create that dynamic and you worry about how we're going to carry this very heavy weight in the future, adding a new entitlement program does frighten some people.
Miguel?
I'm one of those people that's frightened because, again, we've borrowed a lot of money. There's been a lot of stimulation going on with our economy that I believe was necessary. But now when it comes to health care, people are clearly scared of getting too far into debt and not being able to pay for it. You know, more and more people now, including Senator Lieberman, I heard in this program, basically saying, listen, we need to slow down. Maybe we need to do this a little slower. What is the superficial deadline that we've imposed on ourselves about healthcare? Why don't we do this piece by piece? As soon as we can afford the changes, then we make those changes instead of going deeper and deeper and more trillions of debt.
I mean, under almost any scenario, if this is a successful transformation of the healthcare system, people's life expectancy will increase, their productive years will increase, their time at work will increase, the sick days will sort of go away, the catastrophic million personal bankruptcies a year will be reduced and perhaps even eliminated. Yeah, but this has to be taken into account. It's not like we're putting money in a barrel and burning it by spending money on health care.
But, you know, Chris, and I want you to respond and weigh in here. We know that former President Clinton, he went down this road and he ultimately was not able to get health care reform. And if you look at the numbers, if you look at the polls, support for President Obama's health plan just doesn't seem to be there.
Well, look, there's clearly a problem there. And actually, I think, ironically, part of the problem has been for the administration that they've been too worried about not replicating Bill and Hillary Clinton's mistakes in 1993. That's why they didn't come out with their own plan. That's why they didn't sell it in a straightforward way to people that they could get behind and really make a case for savings or how this is a moral choice or any of the arguments that they've put forward so far. But without the public support, you're just not going to be able to get it home, especially when people do have these kinds of worries, because they know in their hearts that no government program ever costs less than it's predicted.
All right, Chris Stirewalt, Errol Louis, Miguel Perez, so many topics, so little time, but we're going to have to move on. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Well, coming up at the top of the hour, Campbell Brown. Campbell, what are you working on today?
Hey there, Lisa. We are also focusing on a story that you mentioned, the anger over Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's plans to stay in a New Jersey town during his visit to the U.S. next month. We're going to talk to one furious resident who lives right next door to where Gaddafi may stay. Also, the latest on that South African runner who's being asked to prove that she is not a he. Some interesting new details tonight. And a hero teacher risks his safety to stop a massacre and save his students' lives. We've got that, and of course, we'll be mashing up all the big stories at the top of the hour. Lisa?
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, Campbell. And we will be right back.